Welcome to Blur's Day Tech Tips. This is Teaching with Zoom. I am your host, Dr. Alec Hosterman, Associate Professor of Communication Studies. Let's get going. As we all know, 2020 has taught us expect the unexpected, especially if you're teaching with Zoom. So what I would like to do is talk about 4 tips to help you teach more effectively using Zoom and hopefully without the pets. My first tip, my first suggestion is when going in, use a second device. If you're doing a split class and you've got students in class and you have them on Zoom, bring in a second device. I would bring in a laptop and I would have the laptop log into the Zoom room and I would have the laptop facing me. I'd then take the camera, the digital camera that was in the classroom, and I would then face that one, face the class. And I would do this on purpose. That way students who were in the Zoom room, I called them my Zoomlanders, would be able to see the entire class as a whole as well as see a camera with me. So it just wasn't that feeling that I was talking to them, but they were a part of the whole. And that's the key thing there. So my tech tips for the second device are this. Make sure that you turn the mic volume down on that second device. That's right. Make sure that the volume is down. Otherwise, you're going to get some nasty feedback. And not that I would know anything about that. Number 2, go wide angle with that class camera. Get as many of the students in as possible. Even if you have to move it a little bit during the class to change up the view, get as many of those students in as possible. My second tip, use an auxiliary mic. Now, auxiliary mics are really easy. So there's inexpensive ones and there are some expensive ones. For instance, on Amazon, you can find the low ends for about $20, all the way up to some high ends that will be $100 and more. And the brands vary. Pile, Audio-Technica, or Blue. I ended up using an Audio-Technica, and it was an omnidirectional, which means it was picking it up, the sound, from all the way around. Now, if this seems like a little bit of a pricey purchase for you, maybe what you do is you figure out a friend or a colleague or somebody who you can go in on that purchase with. Maybe even the library has one that you can check out. My tech tips for using an auxiliary mic. 1, make sure that you have a really long USB cord. They mostly come with short ones. Get a long USB cord. That way you can then place that mic as close to the center of the class as possible. That'll get as much of the people around you in order to pick up their volume. That way you don't act as MC for the comments in the back of the classroom. That way people can hear them on Zoom. My third tip is this. Talk to the camera, not the hand. When we look up and set up our Zoom room in the classroom, we have a tendency to put it on that gallery view. Switch it up, all right? Switch it up. Make sure that you put it on that speaker mode so that you have the largest person speaking, and then you have those thumbnails up at the top, and then you put the camera right up there. All right, now when you do talk to the Zoom students, what you do is you pay attention to the camera itself. It looks odd. You're actually talking to probably a green dot, if not just a dot, and it may throw you off. But on the other end, what they're seeing is you talking and making direct eye contact with them. And that is the key thing right there, eye contact. Make that direct eye contact with your students using this setup. Now, also don't forget to pay attention to your in-class students. Go back and forth. Once you train yourself, after a day or so, you will be able to do this fluently, okay? And what you're doing is you're creating that environment for students. Here are my tech tips for it. 1, in order to get that position where the person is speaking, use active speaker mode. Change it up at the very top. And 2, put those thumbnails up by the laptop's camera. That way, if you do look at the thumbnails to look at the people, you still look as if you are doing direct eye contact with them. Fake them out. And my last tech tip is this. Use Zoom tools or apps with both your in-class students and your students on Zoom. Now, these are easily downloadable on your app, on your phone, on your laptop, on your iPad, whatever. All of these help students interact not only with you, but potentially with what something a student could do. So, Poll Everywhere is a really good one, as well as Wheel Decide. And yes, Wheel Decide, both of these you get to adapt and modify to your whims. Wheel Decide is fun because you get the clicky noise and you get to see it turn around and around, and yes, it becomes Wheel of Fortune for you. Or maybe Wheel of Extra Credit. I don't know, however you want to go ahead and do that. Again, all four of these are all about creating a sense of community in your classroom virtually. I am your host, Dr. Alec Hosterman. If you have any questions about using them, I will be glad to answer them for you. Send me an email at hostermanar@longwood.edu, and I'll see you next time on Blur's Day Tech Tips.